And the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, all my followers can take my name. And I looked at that letter and I said to myself, well, this is true because we are all his children. There's a brother here that has been working faithfully with me since I first got started. And he's not only been a faithful helper, but a friend. And I would like to ask him if he would accept this name, Muhammad too. I don't know no other name to give him. All I know is Muhammad. You know what I mean? Brother Larry?
Yes, sir.
I think the name that I would like to give to brother, so beloved brother Larry, Abdul, the servant, Akbar, of the great Muhammad. The servant of the great Muhammad. And that's true. That's who we are. And that means that brother here has to do great works in the name of Almighty God, Allah, and in the name of His Christ. If you don't do great works, you're not worthy of His name. Is that right? Right. So, Brother Larry, do you pledge in the presence of the community of the Nation of Islam that you will strive hard to do works that are worthy of praise, and that you will not take the praise for yourself, but you will give the praise to whom it rightly belongs, God and His servant, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad?
I do, brother.
And do you pledge to be a faithful son of our Father, that will lift up His name and lift up His glory and His works till death overtake you?
I do, brother.
Then from now on, brother, this community will know you as Brother Abdul Akbar Muhammad.
saw one of our brothers said he's writing a book. Write as many books that you want. Write books, write them, keep writing them, because you're telling the story of what you experienced, not someone from the outside looking in. So Malcolm becomes the minister of Mosque number 7. I came in 1960. I joined the first ministry class. There are a lot of things that Malcolm taught us in that ministry class. The thing that Malcolm that impressed me when I first started coming to the mosque, because I came out of the streets of New York. I mean, I wasn't scholarly. I mean, I was out there like any other Negro trying to get into something, using drugs and all of that kind of stuff. But when we heard Malcolm, he talked about books. That's one thing that stuck with me. He always talked about the reading of this book and that book because of his prison experience. And he was an excellent spokesman.
Want to welcome you guys and brothers and sisters to the Muslim Street. This is the Muslim Street. You can find us at www.themuslimstreet.com and across all social media, Facebook and across Instagram. But you can't find us on X. They banned us a long time ago because this Muslim Street, we're about the struggle and the liberation of people all over the world. And if we need to call that out, as we called it out on X, that's why they get rid of us. So we got a special program here today. We're honoring the legacy, and this is a tribute to Akbar Muhammad, Minister Akbar Muhammad, who was the African and international representative of the Nation of Islam. And Minister Louis Farrakhan passed away a few days ago. And we have gathered a pretty distinguished crowd, I think. Those of us who are on this panel have had personal interactions with Brother Akbar. You're going to hear more anecdotal remarks, stuff that you will not be able to find anywhere else or from anybody else. So we were his students, we were his mentors. On some level, I think our Mobley, a colleague. We also have a special guest, one of his daughters, his third daughter, Sauda Aziz, who I shared a last name with, and hopefully anecdotally I can talk about that and how that came about a little later. But we also have with us Dr. Viber Issa White, who is the author of Blacklisted, The Price of Speaking the Truth. And Dr. White is also running for a congressional seat in Orlando, I think District 10, coming up in August. We want to make sure that we support him with our nickels, our dimes, our dollars, and stuff the ballot box as much as we possibly can. We have Art Mobley, member of the Darfur 23, co-convener of Darfur 23, and also a founding member of the National Association of Black Journalists. And we also have with us Hassan Ali, who is the author of, and I swear, Hassan, this is one of the $1 million words, and I'm going to get it right for you, bro. It's going to sell more books, though. We want to make sure that we support, as you heard Brother Akbar, encouraging people to author books. And he did that. Dr. White has authored books. Myself, I authored a book with his inspiration. You can find all of our books on Amazon and also Incipients. This is written by Hassan Ali. Hassan Ali and I share this Muslim holiday in Ramadan, and this being the third day of Eid al-Fitr. We happen to be on African soil. I literally can reach out with my Black Power fist one way, and he can reach out with Black Power fist the other way, and we can touch each other in the African Maghreb. So I'd like to get started with our Dr. White, with our special guest, Sauda Aziz. It is her father, Dr. I like to call him Dr. Akbar Muhammad, who has given his life to the struggle for the liberation of African people all over the world. And, when I met Brother Akbar back in 1981, 1982, Akbar had a whole bunch of daughters. And, and every once in a while, Sauda, he would see a sharp brother that he was mentoring as a young Muslim, and kind of corral us and then bring him around the house. And I'm sure you saw a few brothers. One of the first brothers I'd like you to remark on this, and how Akbar was just a mentor to so many of us, and this is the way he did it, was a brother by the name of Brother Wendell, whom was inspirational to me in becoming a Muslim. This brother Hassan, if you could have saw him back in Chicago, he was everything Chicago had to offer. Just sharp 20s, knew how to dress, knew how to talk, had his blackness on point, and he grew up in the Nation of Islam, as a young junior FOI, and now a young man training others. So why don't you kind of start off right there, and how you just having so many sisters, like I think it was 7 or 8, and how Akbar would just show up with these sharp brothers that he was mentoring back in those days.
Well, thank you, everyone. Assalamu alaikum, first of all. I'm going to give my part, and then I will cue in on what we were saying there about Brother Wendell. Greetings, everyone. My name is Saeed Aziz. I'm the third daughter of my late parents, Akbar Muhammad and Miriam Aziz. May they both rest in power. I'm just going to keep taking my deep breaths during this journey. I want to thank everyone that have sent their condolences to our family after my father's transition. And the love for Akbar is just pouring in, just unbelievable. So I wish that from his life that I have kind of taken in just for being here this week is the foundation of the Black man. My personal thing, I've read all the Messages books as an early teenager, and then read it a second time as an early adult. But that's the foundation of our community. And for me personally, if you read that Message to the Black Man, again, everybody kind of submit to, we're not asking you to be a Muslim, but kind of submit to the ways of Elijah Muhammad, then we will see a change in our community. That's just what I always thought, and it's still profound for me. So just kind of shifting from the American norm, claim our African heritage, and kind of be ourselves. So to follow up on Brother Wendell, I was hearing an echo. He didn't want anybody around us, so it was Brother Wendell and you, Malik, that was one of the 2 or 3 brothers that was around his house only, and he told them, don't say anything to my daughters, so they would just kind of smile and maybe wave. But the bold ones, Brother Wendell, did speak a lot, and he got to know me personally, and maybe a few other my sisters. And definitely Malik, that has adopted his name to Aziz. I appreciate that. He was one of my close friends. I worked with him with Mr. Green, Chuck Green. We worked together on some technology, computer information, which is one of my business majors from Chicago State University. So that's how that happened.
Yeah. So Brother Hassan, I had a chance to make Hajj in 2005. It was through a connection and a call from Brother Akbar to reach out to you, which you helped facilitate. Yes. On point, man. I mean, you were on point because I was on point. Because when you say, hey, man, you got an opportunity to go to Hajj, I need this, and that by this, and that date. It was there on time. There were no questions about it. But all that came through Brother Akbar. Right. I made Hajj in 2005, literally because, the wheel started there, and you did the heavy lifting on that. Can you tell us a little bit about Brother Hassan Ali, about your work, and also how Akbar Muhammad inspired you?
Well, may Allah have mercy upon him forever, number one. And number two, this man is just really monumental influence. My condolences to you, Sister Sauda. I heard your name many times. I never got a chance to meet you, but I did meet my dear sister that was in Ghana. I stayed at her house. May she rest in peace as well. And many of your other sisters. So Brother Akbar's I know he's born in Virginia, but he's from my neighborhood in New York, in Jamaica, Queens. So he had a name in our neighborhood before he even went to the Nation of Islam. So he was, very well-known figure. I met him personally, I think it was 2002, when the minister was doing his tour throughout the Middle East. And they came through Damascus, Syria, where I was studying at the time. And Brother Akbar, was very open, and he wanted to meet the students and the young people, which was one of his hallmarks, was platforming young Black men. He didn't have this very negative tendency that you see in some of our elders, unfortunately, when they try to deplatform the young people. He was all about giving a platform to the young people. He recognized that. So our relationship really started then. And then some years later, I had an opportunity. We were taking 5 people to Hajj every year, and the person that facilitated it was a friend of Brother Farrakhan, and he wanted people from the Nation of Islam. So I wanted Brother Akbar to go, and I asked him if he wanted to go. He said, "I don't know if I can go this year." He said, "But I got some excellent people that I want to recommend. Can you send them?" I said, "Absolutely." So he sent Brother Malik, Brother Jalil, and one other brother through Brother Muhammad Sadiq from Indianapolis, who they soldiered together in New York along with my dad. That's really how we connected, is because to show you another thing, Brother Akbar's photographic memory, he asked me who my father was in the nation. And I gave him an X. He said, "No, it wasn't that X." He said, "Because that X was so so." I mean, he knew. I came with another X. He said, "No, it wasn't that X. That X was so so." I said, "How does this man memorize stuff?" Finally, we got it right. And he was able to locate who my dad was from the year he came in and all that stuff. Just from, I mean, that was, if you knew him, you knew that about him. You couldn't misquote a book he read, because he said, "No, no, no, no. Page 17 didn't say that. Page 17 said X, Y, Z." So that's how I came to know and fall in brotherly love with my brother Malik, and also by extension my brother Dr. Vibert. And I've heard your name so many times, Brother Art, you as well, even though we've only communicated virtually. But this
Yes,
man
sir.
was like a hub that all these spokes of connection came from. And it's really just amazing. I'm gonna
Yeah,
stop there,
just
man, because
Yeah.
yeah.
that's a great segue, because I talked about Brother Akbar being the link, as you just explained, and me making my pilgrimage to Mecca. The very first time I went to Africa, there's Brother Akbar again. He facilitated my first trip to Africa, which I'll come about the name Aziz here in a minute, Dr. Viper White. I had this, here I am, I don't know, 29 years old, 30 years old. I had this idea in my head to resurrect the dual citizenship concept of Asante Fokole and Nkrumah in 1957, when Ghana got the independence from the British. And what Asante Fokole and Nkrumah wanted to extend to the entire African diaspora was dual citizenship. Come home to Africa and let's rebuild Africa, right? But there was an issue that arose. The movement was broke. Neocolonialism entered Africa and attacked the movement in the 60s and the 70s, which takes us, through the 80s. And we were disunited, not only here in America, but we were totally disunited from a Pan-African perspective. Hence, I came up with this idea that on the bend of this around the Dream Team, Jordan, Magic Johnson, and the Larry Bird in 1992, joining the Olympics because they were getting ran over in the previous Olympics by the Europeans. And so what I wanted to do, once they picked the Dream Team, they left an element out of that Dream Team, and that was Isaiah Thomas. Brother Hassan, you got to listen to this story, man. So they leave Isaiah out. I know Isaiah through some cousins on the west side of Chicago, where my people are from. So reach out to Isaiah, and my idea was, let's get Isaiah to get dual citizenship in Ghana, and he can rally, another 12 players, 15 players from the United States that are Africans, and they can represent Ghana in the Olympics, and it'll be a showdown between the Dream Team. Oh man, this was it. This was my idea, right? So I sit down with Brother Akbar and another one of our great scholars who passed away, Dr. Khalid El Mansour, who wrote 30 books on 30 Ramadans on the Afro-Arab. And we sit down for 2 hours. And I tell them about, this idea I had. Man, they were hyped. Akbar says, I got to get you to Ghana to make this presentation as soon as possible. When can you come? So we set it up. And I was over there for about 3 or 4 weeks. And he literally, this is what I'm talking about, Brother Akbar. Here I come, just a regular brother. And on New Year's Eve, I'm sitting at the presidential palace in Ghana, bringing in the new year. The next day, was there was a military government in charge of Ghana through a coup d'etat by who would then become the president, President Jerry Rawlings. Now, they were ushering in free elections, democratic elections in 1992 under the PNDC. Now, that January 1st, Akbar is literally sitting front row, center stage, and there's a representation of 53 other countries on the African continent, whether they're heads of states or ambassadors, sitting on the rostrum on the dais. Akbar is sitting right behind President Rawlings, who was making a speech, and then I'm sitting next to him. No way I even get a seat like that, but I can't even dream about that. And then the last thing I'll talk about, Dr. White, is this, before I bring in this personal story of how I got my name, was, and I want you to talk about Ghana, and Akbar's work in Ghana, and that is, I was able to meet with the head of the Ghanaian Olympic Committee and make my presentation of what I just told you. General Arnold Quaynu, who was heading up that. We met several times in high-level meetings, and they were excited about it. The Ghanaian Olympic Committee approved my idea and my project to move ahead with this. Later, we got the news before I left Ghana that as they went to the International Olympic Committee, they wanted and they had demanded that the play-in or the qualifications for Africa, who will represent Africa in the Olympics, had to go through these qualifying rounds, and those rounds interfered with the NBA season, and that killed the whole thing. However, none of that happens without Brother Akbar. I thought it was a noble cause, and before you jump into Akbar in Africa, Dr. White, can you imagine that we're able to pull that off? What that would meant? Because you know what would have happened. That dream team would have got beat by Isaiah's team.
Well, Brother Akbar, a brilliant man, and I call him a coalition builder. My work with him stems all the way back to 1978 when I met him as a young student at Bethune-Cookman University. And he had set up a lecture for the minister to speak there. And I was impressed with the minister, but I was always looking at this tall black dude in the back of him. I always had a book. And, at that time, he was tall, he was strong, he looked like he could kill a brick. And I just liked his demeanor and his way of doing things. Then later on, I began to work with him and learn how he functioned and became not only a member of the Nation of Islam under him, but his student, his friend, his brother, and I called him actually one of my fathers. But when we talk about the importance of Minister Akbar, again, I go to the fact that he was a coalition builder. And what I mean by that is that, one, religiously, he was able to connect the Nation of Islam with the Sunni community, the Shiite community, and the other schools of Islam in a way that most people couldn't be able to do. He saw the common denominator between all of them. On another point, he was able to bring together brothers and sisters who were Marxists, who were socialists, who were communists, who were nationalists, who were part of the conservative movement, part of the liberal movement in the United States. He was able to bring all of them together to talk, to debate, to look at the commonality of the Black struggle. Then on the third point, he was able to connect the struggle of the African world and the African American world with that of the Asians, in East Asia, in Central Asia, like no other person. So he was a gem. Like I stated in one article, for every leader that you have, if it's Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings upon him, and you have Abu Bakr, or if it's Prophet Isa, where you have John the Apostle, Minister Farrakhan had Minister Akbar, who did the groundwork, who put everything together so that the movement can continue, look good and strong. And I don't know if you're ever going to see a person like Akbar again, because he devoted his life, even to the point of, maybe, I don't want to say ignoring his family, but his mission was the nation and the black world. All right. He loved his family, but that was his mission. And I don't know if we're ever going to see a person like him again. And on the African continent. Now, I've been to many countries in Africa, and every country that I went to, when I spoke to the leadership, if it was the Gambia, if it was Senegal, if it was Tanzania, if it was Kenya, they all would ask if I would say I'm a member of the Nation of Islam or I know the Nation of Islam. They would say, well, do you know Minister Farrakhan? Yes. How about his person who was with him, who set things up, Akbar Muhammad? Absolutely. He made friends. He made associates. And if it wasn't for him, I'll put it out there, the Nation of Islam would not have become the dynamic international movement that it is today. And that's where I leave it. So Akbar, he'll be missed. And I don't know if anyone can fill his shoes. Thus far, I haven't seen it. And his work is monumental.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to...
Can you speak up, Brother Balik? I barely can hear you.
Yeah, one of the things that I want to mention here as a segue back to Sauda on Ghana is this. During the infant stages of the rebuilding of the Nation of Islam in the early 1980s and probably throughout the 1980s until Brother Akbar shifts to Ghana in the late 80s, were the Savior's Day workshops that he was able to put together, and the people whom he had debating on those workshops and plenary sessions, people like Chokwe Lumumba or Mario Badeli of the Republic of New Africa. He was able to organize Steve Coakley, who was a major researcher. He was able to organize Dr. Conrad Worrell, a National Black United Front, J2 Wausi, a National Black United Front in New York, others like Preston Wilcox. And there will be some fiery debates, over Malcolm. Knockdown, drag out fights. And it was Akbar who invited these different thought patterns, Dr. Jacob Carruthers and also Dr. Anderson Thompson of the African community of Chicago, Dr. Ivor Carruthers, who leading sociologist at Northeastern Illinois University, all at those conferences and many others, just facing down. And one of the things I've been trying to get a copy of this, Brother Viper, is the 1980 Come Again International Conference. Over 3,000 people attended that. And it was a workshop in February, right before Savior's Day. And I got to tell you, Akbar was able to organize an entire international revolutionary front who presented there. And it was just amazing. If anybody can get a tape of that out there in the listening audience, please let us know. But going back to Ghana, Sauda, his work over in Ghana and some other things that you and your sisters were forming organizations to introduce Black Americans to Ghana for the first time. Now it's become really popular. And, I see a whole bunch of stuff going over there now, but all that really starts with Brother Akbar. Can you talk about the early days, the late 80s and the 1990s? You as a family had organized tour groups and what that meant to what we see now, which is every popular, ordinary person wants to go over to Ghana now and not come back home.
All right. I first want to say that Dad was on a mission. Dad was on a mission. And yes, thank you so much, Brother Private, for that. He was an amazing man and father. Try not to get emotional here, and I'm surprised I'm strong right now. So I questioned who was Akbar, in my radiant, who was he? And I will spend the rest of my life through the community to find that out. Things that I didn't know that is coming in, but I know that he had a special light from Allah, and we will follow that. So as far as Ghana, Samima is the one that really took on the legacy of the Adventure in Africa tours, which we started out in, I believe, in 1985. So he had that set up for many years. And And so a lot of that intricate stuff with the presidents, I'm not privy to. I will leave it to another discussion with my sisters that know. But it was lots of groups that had come over. We joined them every time. And it was new. Ghana was just kind of recepting Dad with the mission of, the Muslim community, Muslim mosques, and so that was growing. They had some land that they were kind of vested into. Like I said, we will extend that conversations to where they are today. So then my sister, I had several sisters that, took residency in Ghana, one being Samaya, and she worked at the Ghana International School. But she done so much more. She had a teacher store there. All of these were in the footsteps of my father that had a bookstore in New York. So I see a lot of things in me, and my sisters that model him. And like you said, Brother White, I don't think that we hope to get more soldiers in the community like Brother Akbar. So we got to lift them out. But Ghana is a great place now, and everybody's coming over. In fact, I was scheduled to leave on Monday for the week, and that didn't happen. My flight was canceled. Then I found out that I shouldn't have gone anyway because he transitioned the next day. So that was just a spirit saying that, hey, he's waiting for you. So I didn't get to see him, to tell him what I needed to say. But the mission of Ghana is still there. So maybe we'll have another trip. The trips are still coming next week. And, we're building there, Discovery Camp, a home. So we are trying to, get ourselves there and get people to come to Ghana and take residency there as well.
Well, the only one that has been able, besides Brother Akbar, to have such a tremendous influence as an African American in Ghana was John Henry Clark. He came before him in the 1960s when he worked with Kwame Nkrumah. But that was a long time, from 1963, 1964 to 1985, 86 when Akbar went there. It's a long gap, but no one since has been able to create that dynamic and that influence that encourage other African Americans to go there. What is the influence? What I'm talking about? One, he spoke constantly, and he worked constantly with the Organization of African States. He worked closely with the Organization of the Arab League. He worked closely with intellectuals and politicians that was in Ghana and in West Africa, and by doing that, he was able to influence them about our struggle in the United States. And also keep in mind that when Akbar went to Ghana, he went there blindly. He knew some things, but he went there blindly. But he had the smartness. He was astute enough to find a way to find his niche to go in. I remember when I opened an office in a Novotel. I don't know if you know that, Samar. In a Novotel, when I had my office there in Accra, they asked me, first of all, do you know Akbar, and what does he think about it? That type of influence that he had. And I also say one last thing about that. Even though we went to Libya, it was Akbar who started to focus and distribute that little book called the Green Book that Colonel Gaddafi had written. And he would teach us about his philosophy. And that's deep, because no one has done that. Maybe Brother Hassan know that, but not too many.
Yeah, and we can see Brother on that trip to Libya, particularly initial one in the mid-1980s. I think it was like 1985 or early 86. Samima Aziz, Sauda's sister, was on that trip. And I remember her presenting in Chicago on her return. So Art Mobley, I'm gonna tell a short story now. I want to segue into Sudan and Brother Akbar there. And that is, before I left, I was so impassioned by my trip to Ghana. Brother Akbar and your mother Sauda hosted me. Sister Miriam, she treated me like the son she never had. I don't want to tell you that, and she just loved me to death. Anyway, I was so inspired by that. When I got home, I wrote a letter to your family asking Brother Hassan, could I use their last name as my last name? And they responded, absolutely. They were touched by that, by me asking permission to do that. Now, when Akbar, when the Nation of Islam, when Elijah Muhammad passed in 1975, they were under the leadership of Imam Wardi Muhammad, and they took Muslim names. His name was, correct me if I'm wrong, Sauda Kareem Abdulaziz. And
that's correct.
That you have Aziz on your name, and that is the name that they gave me permission to wear. My mom loved the name Malik. She named me whatever that slave name was, and she chose that, and that's how I became Malik Aziz and got it changed. My mom changed everything all the way down to the birth certificate when she was 26 years old and had me at Illinois Masonic Hospital at 4:06 in the morning, November 15th. All right. So Art Mobley, Sudan and the Darfur 23. I had heard that Brother Akbar was putting together a trip. It was focusing on business relationships between Black American business people and the Sudanese. And I reached out to Akbar and said, I have to be on that trip. So he got me on the trip. And essentially, our first day there, we went to Darfur. There was a lot of confusion of the Zionist-controlled press that is controlling the messages and the narratives right now. They have always done that. At the time, I was the founding chairman of the National Black United Front of Florida. I had a very large cadre down in Florida, and I went on that behalf. Our first day there, we went to Darfur. Our second day, we're standing on the banks of the Nile River in Khartoum, which was the capital. And I immediately talked to Brother Akbar, and I said, this group, like the Durban 400 or the Jericho movement, has to be politicized. We cannot be over here just doing capitalist business. There has to be a bigger piece, and that bigger piece is communicating to the masses of our people back in North America to change the trajectory of the narrative of Darfur, and we began a fact-finding mission. And I called for the convention and the convening of the Darfur 23 on the banks of the Nile River. Art Mobley, you're a member of the Darfur 23, which was born in Sudan, just like that. Can you talk a little bit about Brother Akbar and his international influence, particularly on Sudan?
Well, thank you, Brother Malik, and my condolences to his sister, who is very patient, and glad that she is here with us this morning. And Sister Sada, thank you so much for sharing your father with us and allowing us to be a part of this tribute. I go back with Brother to around the Million Man March. I owned and operated a radio station, FM radio station in Phoenix at the time. And of course, you know, that's that the minister has a home here and is here quite often. And there's another brother, Brother Wahid. I don't know if Malik, you know Brother Wahid.
Yeah, down in Phoenix.
Yeah. He is the person who introduced me to Minister Akbar way back while we were organizing around the Million Man March. So as a radio station, we were trying to take as much of Arizona to Chicago to the march as we could possibly take and cram into a bus and a plane. We did a number of interviews in the studios at Magic 107 with Minister Akbar and Wahid. And at one point, I remember having, right before the Million Man March, huge groups of brothers. They would just come to the station and crowd around the desk and the podium that we had. We had stand up studio, and as many brothers that could get into the room would be there. And we had about 4 or 5 microphones, and they would just be asked to step up to the microphones and share what they thought going into the march, as well as, we did continuous things coming out. So, but Akbar was always somehow that connective glue that brought everybody together. He introduced me after the Million Man March to a process that I had to go back to the University of Maryland to take part in, and we were trying to organize and did organize what was called the Millions More movement. And I was appointed the Arizona chairman and facilitator for the Millions More movement in Arizona. Brother Wahid and Brother Akbar were always right there to help. And anytime Akbar came to Phoenix, I was invited out, and I really appreciated that. But Akbar was just a real personal motivator for me, in that even in my professional life as a broadcaster, I remember the Million Family March that we had in DC. Akbar made it possible for me to be there in support, but also he pulled me up on the stage and made me talk to what looked like 1 million people to me. It's intimidating, even though I'm a broadcaster. I mean, you sit in a booth and sit behind a microphone and you talk, but being face to face with that many people, Akbar said, "Come on." He's pulled me up on the stage, and it was a wonderful experience. But I had never done that. I had never spoke to that many people. But he was an amazing brother and a very, very important influence in my life. But, we get to the Darfur 23 and the whole movement of bringing educators, business people, doctors and lawyers and those folks from the diaspora to Sudan to try and help to understand what was going on in Sudan, and then communicate that to our people back here in the States, was really important work. And I applaud you, Malik, and certainly didn't know the connections initially with Akbar and the Darfur 23, for that matter, even though I know he was there and was a key component, but I should have known. That's who he was. That's who he is. That's who he will continue to be to us. And just long live, the memory and the presence. And, I really love that brother. That brother was special and is special.
One thing, when we organized and convened the Darfur 23 in Khartoum, one thing that I recognized right away from Brother Akbar was this, and you see a lot of this going on today. We see these so-called influencers and YouTubers with hundreds of thousands of followers just yapping. And the white man lets them yap because they ain't yapping about nothing, right? Brother Akbar, on the other hand, we're flying back from Khartoum through Dubai. He comes to me and he says, probably about an hour before that long flight landed, and he said they're probably going to come on the plane and take me off of the plane, talking about, CIA, FBI kind of thing. And they're probably going to escort him off the plane before anybody else gets off the plane, right? And they're going to interrogate him for 2 or 3 hours as soon as he gets off this, 15-hour flight, right? And this let me know that if you're doing the right thing, opposing our enemy, this is the kind of attention you get.
Panel, I'm not hearing Malik.
Followers on YouTube. You understand what I'm saying? This was Akbar Muhammad, facing down.
We let him know, sister.
Say it again.
Sister Sadra couldn't hear
Yeah,
you.
you think you're muted.
She's okay.
Yeah. So this is the kind of stuff that he was facing now. And one thing before I go to Sauda for a couple of remarks is this.
I'm sorry, I'm still not hearing.
Yeah. Can you? Yeah. The one thing I want to go to Brother Art is that on the Sudan thing is that he asked me as chairman of the National Black United Front of Florida to present my findings to the National Black United Front National Committee, which I did. Their co-founder, Reverend Herbert Daughtry out of New York, I think he's in his 90s now, well known in the movement, took an opposite position to my research. And we just left there for 3.5 weeks. You ain't about to touch my research, what I saw, hands-on. So we had a showdown with the National Committee of the National Black United Front. He was defeated badly. So much so that Dr. Conrad World asked for a follow-up meeting in Kansas City that took place 2 months later. And it was Herbert Daughtry, Reverend Herbert Daughtry, that gave the most anti-Muslim presentation that you ever wanted to see coming from a Black person. And then I walked out of the National Committee with the largest segment of that organization, the National Black United Front. And we moved everybody into the Dow Force 23, and I never went back. So this is who your father was, Sauda. Can you tell us, Sauda, as being in the house, being a daughter, being with your father and the dignitaries going and coming, what were some of the impressions that you got and your siblings got of your father that we wouldn't have been able to see? I think she says she has Lance Soda having some problems. Soda, can you take your mic
muted? She has to unmute herself.
Yeah, can you unmute her?
Well, no, I can't because she did on her end, so she has to unmute herself.
Okay, can you send her a message in the chat? And while we're working through Sauda unmuting herself, Art,
I can hear her, but I don't know.
I can hear her too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Art.
Unmute yourself, okay. Sauda.
All right.
I think she did. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm unmuted, but I did not hear Brother Malik.
Yeah. Soda, we were just talking about. Can you talk a little bit about a perspective of your father that we couldn't see from the outside? We externally struggling with him for Black liberation and African liberation. Some of the things you saw around the house. Some things that were personal with dignitaries going back and forth, some interactions with Brother Farrakhan, et cetera. Can you tell us some anecdotal stories that I think the audience would appreciate?
Gonna log out and come back in. Okay.
While she's doing that, one of the things I want to recognize is that Lance Scurv, our show is produced out of Ghana. Accra, Ghana, exactly where Brother Akbar initially set up in the late 1980s. Lance, you had an opportunity to work with and tape an interview.
Yes.
Brother Akbar Muhammad, can you tell us a little bit about your interactions with him that you can recall?
Every syllable he shared with me and with us was history and very informative and very impactful. And to be in his presence, you felt his conviction. And it wasn't a recent fad type of conviction like so many social media influencers have. He wasn't that. He was part of, and a major part of, a movement that banned decades. And he never had an arrogance about him. He was a servant of the Most High and for his people. And I remember I was so excited when Dr. White called me up one morning and they had a little time before the flight. And he asked if he could bring Brother Akbar to the house to do a broadcast. Who am I to say no for something so wonderful? So in another 20 minutes, I don't know how I got ready so fast, but he came over and he was at the house, and I just couldn't believe that he was there with me. And because of you, Brother Malik and Dr. White, I had a chance to have dinner with him in Tampa. he spoke, I videotaped, and several interviews over the phone, and it changed my life and my outlook to see how a real man in the most powerful movement moves, and for him to have traveled the world so much and to be known not for any narcissistic reason, but that was a stamp of how he worked and how he influenced the world. In the brief time that I got a chance to talk with him and get to know him in your presence, it impacted me. And I always thought about him. And sister, I was supposed to meet her at one point 2 or 3 years ago, but the flight that they had to take was going to go out early. And so I didn't have a chance to meet you. But I'm here in Ghana, and one day it's going to happen very soon.
You're probably in Ghana because of Brother Akbar. You have 53 other countries to go to. Soda, we're talking about as we welcome you back. And
Yes.
we in the last 8 minutes of the program, Soda, I just want to give you a platform to talk about some of the dignitaries that were going and coming inside of your house, inside of meetings, any special stories about interactions with Brother Farrakhan and your father that would enthuse the audience and warm our hearts. Can you talk a little bit about just some anecdotal experiences with your father and some of the national and international leaders?
Okay, I'm trying to pull one of the sisters in that came in, but our lives were always, Dad had this morning schedule. So we always got up and sang this song. I'm late for a very important date. There is a time to say hello, goodbye, I'm late, I'm overdue. So that would be the morning song that we had to hear. And we got to start singing it and everything and rushing, that did rush us along. Kind of got in the car, the Muslim school. So we were living in two different places. But what I remember is Westbury, driving into Manhattan, and he had his jazz on. He loved jazz. So I personally had to endure that. I'm not a jazz fan to this day. Always over the minister's house, Hanan and I were close during that time, and, eating dinner. Dad and the minister would come in all the time, and, just regular family time. Different places we used to travel to together. It's just, Dad was a great man, and he was always there for us, although he was always out of town. When he came home, he had to get a report. Who was bad and who was good, who needed the spanking. So I guess Mom wanted to be fair. All of us kind of lined up for a spanking. So everybody you got to get ready for this. We're going to get 3, hits on the backside.
I can dig that. Yeah. So, Soda, can you tell us a little bit about the Educational Festival, Inc. and your project? Yeah. Can you hear me, Soda? I think she's
muted
back
again
with some sound capability. Soda, we cannot hear you. If you can log back out, log back in, that'd be great.
Yes, on her end.
While she's doing that, Art, one of the things that stands out most about Brother Akbar is that he helped take just some ordinary brothers and sisters who were independent thinkers in the movement, in the Black liberation struggle and African liberation struggle, platform us and raise our level of consciousness around that to deliver our ideas.
And not only that, Malik, I know you recall, probably back in the mid to late 2000s and, 5, 6, around there, we were talking about digital currency. And, we were talking about launching a coin in Africa that we call the Afro. And we were trying to establish a platform to do that. And Akbar was right there. Akbar was on those calls because he was just very responsive to those things that I think meant the most at that particular time, particularly to Pan-Africanism and how Africa works. So, he's just always been there. He's always been an institution. The reason he called me up on the stage at the Million Family March was he had been at my house in Phoenix and saw my library and was very complimentary of a lot of the books and the materials that I had at the house. But I was also involved with Reverend Leon Sullivan and his summit missions to Africa, and that was why he had me speak at the Million Family March. But the way he wove into that, he found out in just our conversation that Dr. Sullivan's birthday was the same day of the Million Man March, and he heard that and he just. Brother
Akbar was an avid reader, and in fact, in my book, I spent some time in the foreword discussing that. So, in our last 3 minutes here, Sauda, can you talk a little bit about the Educational Festival Inc. To the audience and what that means to that special project?
Yes, I am a special education educator, master educator from the state of Texas. I have been working in education for 23 years. So I set myself up for retirement pretty soon. As Dad said, always, look ahead and plan ahead. So as I retire, I've had Educational Festival for 10 years, which is to provide cultural experiences, educational backgrounds, and bring community awareness to our brothers and sisters and children, kind of take them away a little bit from that curriculum that is imposed on them, and give them some natural education, teaching them about Africa, having festivals that teaches Kwanzaa and to be embedded in your culture. So as I move around and get ready to retire soon, this is what I want to take to Africa. I do have a camp that will be coming up in Pocoasi, if the brother knows that area. Certainly need some help there. And we'll be in Ghana this summer, June, July, on that same trip. So that is just, preparing myself to extend my educational knowledge and career. I didn't choose special education, self-contained, it kind of chose me. And I'm working with others to get to know themselves and be a part of the community and the world, to share what they have. We all have gifts. Akbar had a light, a special light. And so it is in each and one of his children, and we will continue his work with the books and all of that.
Yeah, in the last minute, Sauda, can you go over the services that are planned coming up for the people to honor Brother Akbar Muhammad?
Yes, I say that we are going on tour. This is the first leg of the tour. So today we will view his body. It's just, and then we will be in Chicago on Thursday. Friday would be at the Mosque Miriam. From there, Akbar will go to Virginia, his resting place, and that we'll have another ceremony there.
And we're going to post that as we close out, we're going to post that on the Muslim Street. You can find that and that information coming up at least this evening at www.themuslimstreet.com. I want to thank Sauda Aziz, Educational Festivals, Inc., third daughter of Brother Akbar Muhammad, for Art Mobley and the Dow 423 National Association of Black Journalists. Also, Dr. Viper Issa White, blacklisted, also running for Congress in Orlando. And also Hassan Ali. We want to thank you for chiming in on some special stories. He's also the author of Incipients. Get the books. You find all our books on Amazon. We're produced out of Accra, Ghana, probably because of Akbar Muhammad. This link, again, that we talked about, this just keeps showing up about a Lance Scurv show out of Accra, Ghana. We are the Muslim Street. I am Malik Aziz, editor-in-chief of the Muslim Street. We'll see you next week. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
Salam.